Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's From Boxes to Butterflies, the afternoon edition. Let's go to call it that way, because normally I'm on a little bit earlier, but depending on how things go, we go a little bit later, and all is good and fun. And it's great to have everybody here, whether you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. They're all just glad to have you in. Make sure you pipe in, make comments, be a part of the conversation. It's always fun when more people start asking questions. A couple of things I want to start off with. I want to begin with something I always do. It's really, for many, it's that think about who's around you, because we have people in our lives that they go through things. It affects them, and really it affects them over time. It could be a health issue, family issue, a lot of things. And so I just want people to think about anybody in their life that has been going through some difficulties, and you were probably there at the very beginning saying, hey, how's it going? Worried about you, want to take care of you. And oftentimes after a couple of weeks, that kind of stops. Whereas whoever's going through it, it doesn't stop. So it's just a thing to think about. Part of it is because I talk about it because of my sister, who she's going through something. Her husband had a health issue and it impacts them. And while this happened in January, it doesn't mean that things are all rosy once, like 2-3 weeks. So I'm always watching out for them. Think about those in your life that you can watch out for as well. I like to talk about publicity. And I put this up because during the month of March, CJ, Dr. Constance Leland, I was able to work with her and get into 6 premium magazines. So this article's been in 6 magazines around the globe with, I believe it was over 100 million viewers for those magazines. And she has access to 1,000 premium magazines. So if you are looking to create your brand, to get your brand out there more, looking for that publicity, Constance is the one to talk to. She calls herself the publicity queen. I sometimes say publicity maven. She's got the ability to do that. And so many of these, they're pay for play. She's able to negotiate a lot of these costs down to make them reasonable for most of us to do. And that's what I did. And she's getting ready. Her article for herself is going to be published. I think it was Business Insider. It's going to be everywhere. As many of you know, I am a writer. So I have 3 books of my own that are out there. Faith of the Butterfly is, I call it the reinvention memoir. It was traditionally published by Urano Publishing. So it's in bookstores and on Amazon and other online sources. The Armor of God series, that's my fantasy series. It really follows along with what I talk about for moving beyond boxes and shine to be your authentic self. It's a story of a character who, over the first 2 books, does just that. It's also available on Amazon, and I am looking to make some changes, and the paperback right now is only on Amazon, but I may pull that down soon so I can get it through another stream to get it into more places, bookstores. And that ties into the Beyond Boundaries book that you see in the bottom left corner that was done again with CJ. The 2 of us worked on that together. We had 27 authors. That book was #1 in 5 different countries. So it's a #1 international bestseller. And that takes me right into our author's call for the next anthology. This one is Moving Beyond Boxes, The Journey to Self-Discovery. The QR code is there. It's $500 to join. There are a couple of discounts. We're always open to talking. There's an option to pay the whole 500. There's an option to do it in two pieces, 200 and 300. If you go through Stripe, it's just a little bit more because of the fees. This is a chance to talk about your story of what it was like when you decided to start your business, what it was like to realize that wherever you were, whether it's business, personal life, that you no longer had to stay stuck where your life had felt you had no place to go, whether somebody else was controlling it, your fears were controlling it, you were held back in a box, you were labeled, you were stigmatized. You don't have to stay that way. That's what I talk about in Move Beyond Boxes and Shine. That's what we're looking for in the stories for Moving Beyond Boxes, that journey to self-discovery. And for many, that self-discovery, it's really whatever it is for you, whether it's a personal, whether it's starting a business. And it's just, we know we all have these journeys, and the journey that you've gone through for your self-discovery and success, there's somebody out there who's where you started. They don't know where to turn. And so being able to read your story, that gives them a roadmap. For you, being able to publish your story, be a published author. How many of us, that's what we want? We want to be published authors. This is a great way to do it. And you get to work with me and CJ. So it's part of Level Up. I've got the lead on this one. We work together. We work so well with everything. And if you have questions, feel free to reach out to either of us, to me or CJ. We're happy to talk with you, answer questions. Our focus is really heart-centered on how to get the best for you and to help you out as best we can. Like I said, it is $500, but really that's just because we are doing the editing, the marketing, putting it together. There are costs involved in time. And when we edit, you can talk to anybody who's been in our books. Our goal is to help you and help your writing. And if there's one thing I noticed with a lot of the stories, when I read them the first time and provided guidance, because it has to stay in your voice. When I got the story back, I was amazed at how much some of them changed, but the way they changed, it was such a positive change. But now is the time to bring up my guest. And here she is. Hey, Adriane.
Hi, Susanna. Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was exciting. I like how it worked out because we're in CJ and I and some of the other sisters we always have that conversation on Sundays, and then you happen to be there, and it just kind of fell into place, and I really liked it and what you're doing. And I would love for you to kind of share a little bit about yourself and what you're doing, how you got here, whatever you want to share.
Yeah. Okay, so I got here. Well, Danielle, first of all, is like, she's an angel. She is actually the one who introduced me to all of you. And so she was like, "Don't forget, we have the meeting at 7:30." And I am not a morning person, so I'll put that out there. So I was like, 7:30, okay, alarm set, ready to go. And it was just so nice being invited into your guys' space. And because I am such an advocate for women. And so that was to me like very empowering and just so supportive. Um, but yeah, so what I do is I'm a photographer, calligrapher, and now I'm a host for a women's nonprofit networking group in Southern California. And I got here, my journey has been a little insane, but I don't know what journey is it.
I
So
don't think any are.
yeah, so I've always known that I loved photography. Um, I started off learning in the dark room back when like the schools actually did photography classes. And then I was like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do when I get older. And then it just so happened that I ended up doing it as a business, and I started my business in Hawaii in 2014. And then I at the time was married, so to military. And being a military spouse, you have to move with that person, adjust, figure everything out. And I was like, okay, let me find something I can do. And then I went back into learning calligraphy and writing, and like there's so much passion in like learning every stroke, and like words have so much meaning. And it was something that to me was like I love writing like those open when letters. So like open when you're sad, open when you're excited or you're happy, or open when you feel alone, like those types of letters. And then um I was married for 12 years. I got divorced. And during my marriage, I felt like I was being controlled a lot by somebody that wasn't very supportive. And I didn't really have like a lot of friends or support. So my brother actually was like, come move to Sacramento, start your business again. And I got connected with this really great group of women. And when I was moving to Southern California, I was like, I'm going to be so sad. I'm going to miss you guys, because I genuinely made friends. And like when I go to network, I love meeting women for like not what they do, but for who they are.
Right.
And yeah, and it's so hard because I was going to other networking events where I think people use it to try and date somebody. And that was I was like, this is not my vibe. I want to learn, I want to grow, I want to be around people who want to support my business. And like I want to support other businesses as well. So when I was a part of this group, they were like, hey, we have San Diego, you want to cover that? And I was like, okay. But I ended up moving to Temecula, which is not San Diego. It's Riverside. So I was like, okay, let me just cover all of SoCal, because I'm an hour away from LA and an hour away from San Diego. And I'm like in the middle of both of those. So yeah, so you'll be seeing a lot of events coming from us. And I'm excited because I actually hosted an event this morning. And I was so surprised by the amount of women who came. And I'm like, everyone that came was just like such good like vibes. And so like women are just naturally nurturing. And so when I feel that, and I love being in that space where it's all about how can we help you? How can we give to you in your business? And yeah, so, and now I'm here, and that's what I do. And I continue to do all three things. But really, my heart is in supporting women and uplifting other women, because I know what it felt like to be that person that had no community, no support. And because that was given to me, I want to pass it on to others. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of what you said is like I can identify with it in so many ways. For me, the marriage, yeah, there was similarity. To me, it was death by 1,000 verbal cuts, is the way I put it. Yet I was the military officer, so but it was also the National Guard. So I was in Oregon the whole time, and I'm working in the Guard and I was actually working for my dad, which was also not a good situation. So
Yeah, it's rough. It's so rough, like working with family, but sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't.
I know. And and having that, I completely understand what you're talking about in terms of the military too, and moving around, especially those times when I went to my officers trainings, um, officer courses. I get to see
Mm-hmm.
that a lot, where you have those who are moving, and suddenly that's just another place that they have to move. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the couple goes depending on how long the class is, and sometimes it's just the officer and the spouse stays back home or something, and or is getting ready to move to the next station, which is another part
Stressful.
of life. I know. I just, so one thing I could never, I don't know how I would have done having to move every 3 to 5 years.
It's so rough. It's rough because we had the kids. So even moving the kids, changing their schools, and then having them adapt to a new situation, a new environment. Like, I feel like that's so much for any one person, but for a child, that's a
Right.
lot. And then their education is disrupted. And so a lot of it, like I'm glad that I was working with the Boys and Girls Club prior to having kids, because like it gave me the knowledge I needed in order to like at least know what my kids needed, in teaching them and making sure that they were on top with their education, like social and emotional, like skills and everything that a person needs to go through to be a good human being for the world that we live in now. So, yeah, it's so rough. Like the military life is, I don't know how people do it. I don't know how I did it.
Well, we actually have somebody that was in the last book. She's also a spouse. I want to say they've been together, and he's been in the military for over 30 years.
Oh, wow.
So, and that's one of the stories. All, that is one of the chapters within that last book, is her story about that, and all the stuff they had to do. And I think they started in Guam even. So
That's a nice place to start.
this is a nice place to start. Well, I mean, you said you started in Hawaii, so
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But that's still amazing. It's amazing because I think it takes two very, very emotionally, like, well, emotionally, what's the word? Like, who are mature, emotionally mature people to like make
Right.
those decisions together. And so, yeah, I just, it's,
Or a spouse, whoever the spouse is, that is able to kind of be able to take charge of things when the other one's not around,
right.
or
Yeah,
however long it may be.
it's so much support. It's on both ends. And
Yep.
yeah, if we're talking about relationships, even that is in itself so like so crazy.
Yeah, and CJ's put it up there. It's like it was
Lori.
Lori that talked about her life as a military spouse, and yeah, I remember reading her story. I remember reading everybody's stories. Um, yeah, and CJ's right. But in terms of this, and just how you're focused on women, because I also resonate with that so much. That's really a lot of where Move Beyond Boxes came from, is that focus. The way I put it is, I got tired of being told throughout my life who I am, what I'm expected to do or be, all this stuff that, and on top of that, nobody bothered to ask me who I am or what it is that I want, or if I did offer it, then to basically be told it, whatever it was that I wanted to do, which in my case I wanted to be an astronomer.
Oh,
My
wow.
dad's like, there's no money in it. You shouldn't go that. You need to go someplace where you can get paid and there's steady growth and security and this. And it basically is like, go work for him. It's like,
Mhm. That is
it,
such a man answer.
And then what you're doing is you're basically watching your dreams get crushed because you then what do you do? So when you're in these groups with other women, how do you approach that, and how to how to lift anybody who's she's kind of feeling a little less than?
I feel like I run into it a lot actually. So I because I guess like I don't know where the quote came from, but I've heard it so many times where the best person to help you, is someone you used to be. And so I feel like I resonate so much with single moms, um, or just women who don't know what they want to do with their life, especially like with the way the world's going. We don't know what's happening. But I I leave it open for it's a no judgment zone. It's like I'm not going to judge you. Like I went through my life getting judged by everybody, that
Right.
you're going to come to me and I'm just going to be a listening ear. I can give you advice, but you don't have to take it. And I'm not going to judge you which decision you make, because at the end of the day, it's not my life. I'm not living it. You are. So whatever decision you make, I'll support you. And then if that doesn't work out, well, guess what? We'll find another plan B or plan C, or you know what? There's so many letters. We got 26. Let's go.
You got 26. And if you have to, start doubling up. It's like
We got
license
numbers
plates. Yeah,
and
it's like a
characters.
license plates. In Oregon, we have the Crater Lake plate. So the first batch was CL, and then up to 100,000 plates. After
Oh, I
CL
didn't know
came
that.
CR, and then it became CA. So like we're on the third batch of 100,000 plates, and that doesn't even count the personalized plates that are on the Crater Lake plates. So yeah,
Oh,
we got a lot to play with.
that's that's awesome. Yeah, that's actually really cool, that I love about the United States. Every state has their own license plate design. And Hawaii does have a rainbow.
Yep. Well, and I will see a Hawaii car driving around here every once in a while.
That's nice. Yeah, well, the PNW is like a lot of people from the islands love the PNW. So you're like in prime spot, especially like for photos. Like I love like the waterfalls, the nature, just it's all just
Yeah.
so inviting.
You're just gonna have to come up because I'm on the
I
west
might
side.
drive there. Don't tempt me.
On the east side of town, going down the gorge is Multnomah Falls. So
I think
that's
I've been there. Is that the one with the bridge?
yep. There's the bridge there,
And then
and
it's that.
and there's a few more falls even in that whole area, because through the gorge, you basically have water coming off the upper grounds, dropping down those cliffs, down to the gorge, and into the Columbia River.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, I
Mm.
do wanna make a trip out there, because so I'm going to Iceland for the summer, and
Oh, there
then
you
I'm
go.
like but I do wanna go to, like, Oregon's been on my list, because I have been there, but not with a camera in hand. So, I need to go there and take photos, like, that's my goal.
You need the photos, and then yeah, if you get to know Brook, which is like right behind me, I call this off to the side the offshoot. Um, that's my little forest that I'm always in. That's the forest that I have so many photos of now and posts, because if I want to talk reinvention, it's the forest. I have what I call the lady guardians of the forest. And it all began with an owl who just about took my head off one day.
Ugh.
As I watch her come around the bend and gliding towards me, the wings never moved, but she kept getting lower and lower, because I didn't realize until later there wasn't much space between the top of my head and the branches. And
Oh.
I suspect she's just going, this idiot will move. And of course, I moved. I crouched and she went over my head, and I watched her bank around a tree following the path. And I have selfies with her and everything. So a whole a whole storyline came out of an owl that grew
That
into.
sounds amazing. That sounds like a spirit animal.
Well, I crossed paths with her 5 times in less than 2 weeks, and that's how I got the selfies and everything else with her, and then it grew from there because there
Love
was
that.
a deer, Freya the deer, Artemis the hawk, Aphrodite the blue heron, Anya the white egret, Scotty the eagle, Lady Sif is a wolf, which I will always maintain that whatever the back of the critter that I saw walk through the backyard, it was a wolf because it didn't look like a coyote snout. Uh, and then turkey vultures are the Valkyries. It's like I've created this whole
Like
the
a
whole
whole
stories
world.
are there. The whole world is, but we learn from this stuff, and it's pertinent to our world. The reinvention of the forest, it reinvents every quarter and then some.
Mhm.
We're always doing reinvention. So
Always, every day, every hour.
exactly.
I
But yeah,
love that. That's pretty cool.
it would be fun. Just come on up and
We can do a whole retreat there. We gotta tell CJ.
I think CJ is already there. She's been in the comments anyway. Her last one was only 5 minutes ago, so she may still be there. And be careful though, because that may turn into homework.
Oh, I don't mind. I love the homework. Let's go.
Okay, CJ, you heard that.
Yeah, just give me all the tasks. Tell me what we need to get done, and I'll get it done.
Okay, that's.
Yeah,
I,
like
I
I am such a planner. Like I live by my calendar. Like if it's not on the calendar, it's not happening. But I love getting people together, and that just sounds fun. Especially if I can cook and feed you, because food is my love language.
well, that's not a problem. It's like it may be a case of everybody taking turns or learning from each other how to cook different things,
Oh, that
because
would be fun.
there's that too. And then yeah, I can already see it now, because if it turned into a drive, CJ can CJ's got the vehicle to bring a number of women from the California, just pick them up as she comes up.
Pick them up as we go up the
Exactly,
15.
because she's at the bottom. She's at the southernmost tip. So as she goes north, just step aside, pick people up, and let's just keep going. I could see it now.
That would
Oh,
be so fun. We're
it
all
would
taking
be.
turns driving. Just like, yeah, that would be amazing.
Well, it would be interesting to see if you can drive what she's got, because she drives a Sprinter.
Oh, does she? Oh, wow. That is huge.
And
We'll
I've seen it.
Yeah, we'll
So,
see. I don't know if I've never drove a Sprinter, so but if
but
it's like driving a truck, I can drive a truck.
yeah, okay. We'll let her figure that one out. But yeah, it's there's so much going on, and I love what you talk about in terms of, like I said, the focus on women and how to lift them up. And I'm kind of curious, what kind of projects would you like to have create, um, focused on women? Do you have ideas in mind that you want to do right now?
Oh my God. Okay, so I have so many. I feel like you know how like ideas just come and they just don't
Right,
stop coming? Like one thing
right.
and you're like, "Oh wait, I could also do this." And then another thing. I get those all the time. So I was actually doing a photo project it's called I Am, an I Am project, but specifically for women.
Hmm.
I was doing that, but then I got so entwined with the whole business and the networking and then promoting other people's businesses because I love just like supporting other people and what they're doing. And then for a while, I was hosting masterminds. And then that took a lot. And I realized I probably should, like, kind of stay like, because my energy levels, I'd be like, I got this. And then I would crash and like
Right.
burn out. And so, like, now my thing is bringing everyone together. I would love to just, honestly, I love potlucks. So if I could do potlucks for the rest of my life, I would totally do potlucks. But I do love getting like other people who are passionate about what they like to do and getting them together to do events together. I think that's what makes the networking groups that we do so different, is because we do field trips.
Okay.
So you go into like a women-owned business, bring other women-owned businesses, come to this venue that is owned by a woman, and then we make it an event, like a shop and drink, or do, get jewelry done, or get your facial done or makeup, or it's just
Right.
something. And it's just seeing that come to life and seeing how, like, because so I'm at that point where I really do believe that money is energy. So it's
Right.
like, as the money flows in, you see the energy flowing between all the women. And then it's I don't know, there's just something so powerful in that, where you see everyone pouring that energy into another business. So I really like that. And that's been one of my passions. And I think that's where I'm at now. But I still like taking pictures, and I do like calligraphy and writing that. And just everything for me is like at a point where I'm doing all the things that I love to do
Right.
as a career. And it's crazy. Like, that to me is mind blowing. So to be able to like get people on that, like especially women, to see that they like, I'm doing what you could be doing. Like, if they have like this crazy idea, they don't think it's going to work, but how do you know? You never tried. So
Exactly.
just do it. Just do it. If it doesn't work out, you adjust.
Exactly. No, I like that. And the calligraphy, you made a comment when you talked about it, how there's kind of exacting, there's specific motions you have to do with the calligraphy, right? To
Hmm.
really make it happen. Because as you talked about it, it reminded me of Chinese characters.
Yeah.
Because Chinese characters, you have to do them in order. You can't just say, this is a name in Chinese, and so you try to copy it, but if you don't do it in the right stroke order, even if
Hmm.
it looks the same, it doesn't look right. It has
Yeah.
to be done in order.
Yeah. So we have our, you have your thick strokes and your thin strokes. And
Right.
so, especially, so I actually, like, I guess my teenage years, I grew up in Japan, because my dad was military, so he was in the Navy. But we were living over there, and like, I was taking Japanese and just like learning how to write the characters, which is
Mhm.
very similar because it is
It
borrowed
is.
from Chinese characters.
Yeah.
So when they write, it's very similar to how we write. Um, so we have, like, if you go up, it's for English calligraphy, it's like the upstrokes are going to be thinner than your downstrokes, and your downstrokes are going
Okay.
to be thicker. So when you write, it's like you go light and then you press harder. And then, yeah, it just kind of like flows together. And then I didn't realize it until I started learning calligraphy that you can tell if it's wrong. But I love it. Like, I love the mistakes though, because that's how you learn. That's how you grow.
And I see that, and then you're right in terms of the two languages, because I had to take a year of Chinese or Japanese for business school, and so everybody got to choose except for the Chinese students had no choice. They had to take Japanese. And the Japanese students had no choice. They had to take Chinese. And then when the teacher's giving everybody their name, everybody kind of gets some input to what name they're going to end up with. But the,
Hmm.
but like the Japanese students, they're stuck with their name. They just have to learn what it means in Chinese,
Oh,
because it's like the name isn't any different. It's it's not written any differently. They just have to learn what it really means in the other language.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. That is pretty cool though. So you learned Chinese calligraphy?
uh, a little bit. I could do up to my best. I was up to 200 characters at one point that
Okay,
I
that's a
could do.
lot.
Um, and now it's like I think I'm good if I can do, let's see, one, two, three, and I think I can do about 5 different characters right now because it's like one is a line, two is 2 lines, three is 3 lines. I do not remember what four and
Oh,
above
you're talking about,
are.
so 4 is the square. The square with like the it's like a corner here on the top of the square, and then you know like it
Right,
looked like a
right.
house. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I
So
remember that too. Like the numbers were so easy.
the
And
numbers
then I
get,
think
yeah, because then you're just tacking them on. Once you know what 10 is, it's like it's very similar to Roman numerals actually.
yes, yeah.
So
Which I
it's
still
like,
get confused.
well, yeah, and that's why it's like I'm trying to be careful with that too because there's the Chinese numbers and there's Roman numerals and they're similar but they're not the same. And then with Chinese, there's also the hand gestures for the numbers. So you have that as well. I mean, you're
Mhm.
good through
Wait,
you're
you
good through
talking about how
5,
like they do like how they count with their this way
right?
instead
I
of
mean, well,
this?
it's you can get the 5. Up to 5 is easy. It really doesn't matter where you start,
Hmm.
but getting to 5 is easy. It's the 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 that, because it's all one hand. It's not 2 hands. So you're doing everything with one hand, and there's, I think, fingers are crossed in one, and your fingers
Okay.
bent on one, and it's like I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
So yeah, there's definitely that piece of it, of the hand gestures for numbers in that way too, especially if they're shopping. If you're someplace where the language is different, especially a place like China, where in the south it's Cantonese, in the north it's Mandarin, and even
Hmm.
though everybody's supposed to know Mandarin, that doesn't mean that they do. So you can be talking with somebody else and they don't understand what you're saying because they speak Cantonese, and it sounds totally different.
Hmm.
And so if you're gonna buy something, at least you've got the hand signals, hand gestures to be able to do that.
Yeah. Yeah,
And you,
I wanna learn that. Now I'm curious. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna Google this on YouTube.
oh, there you go. And well, I mean, you talk about learning food too, and that is, there is stuff over there that I definitely will not eat, um, like fried silkworm.
Yeah. Yeah, I know they have quite a cuisine.
That's a good way to put it. Quite a cuisine. Uh, but there was one place when I was over there because my spouse worked there, where I would go to the local village first thing in the morning, and I would get this, they called it bing, which was like a flatbread that I watched them fry it. They had this big round fryer, so they'd roll it out, slide it into the fryer, and then use these big wooden tongs to flip it over, and then put it out on a board, paint it with this red paste, and you tell them how much you want by how much you're going to pay.
Oh.
Then they cut it up based on how much you're going to pay. So if you only want two Chinese dollars, 2 yuan, which at that point was like 30 cents, then they will cut that much up and stick it in a little baggie, put a couple sticks in it, and off you go.
That sounds that sounds interesting. And I don't know. I'm curious what that is. What's the paste?
It
I'm kind
was
of
it
like,
was some sort of a red. paste sauce, I really don't know. And see, the thing is, you could see the same thing at another place in the same town, and it will taste different. They
Oh,
each taste different. They won't be the same.
was it sweet or is it like a
Yeah, it was
dessert?
this one, not a dessert. This I had it for breakfast, so I would get like 4 or 5 yuan worth, so like 75 cents.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go get a Coke Zero for 3.5 yuan, so that's like 50 cents, and go into this one little restaurant noodle shop. I called him my noodle guy because when I walked in, he'd look at me and he'd put up like one or two. Well, how much do I want? Because I'd walk in with my own bowls, and then he knew what to make me. It was noodles. It was however he seasoned it. It's like I don't think I ever want to know how it was seasoned. I don't know want to know what's in the sauce because they weren't marked containers. It was just noodles and a sauce and chicken. I
Okay.
I always went with the chicken instead of the eggs, and then he'd put it in my container. It would cost me 5 yuan, so I could spend essentially 2 bucks on enough food to feed me for the day. I really didn't need to eat for the rest of the day after that breakfast.
That sounds good though. I love traveling to just eat.
Yeah, that would one place if I ever went back. That's one place I would definitely want to go because I miss those noodles.
And I'm sure they probably remember you.
Maybe things have changed over time, but you never know.
You never know. It's well, some people leave an impact, and when you see somebody's every day for so many, like or at least once a week for a long period of time, you're like, I will never forget this person. So there was a place that I used to eat in Japan, and it was called California Chicken or Cali Chicken, and the best, like to me, the best gyoza or pot stickers that I've ever had, and it
Uh-huh.
was deep fried pot stickers, and I still miss it to this day. My brother loves the chicken sandwiches, but and that's what they're known for. But their gyoza for me was it.
Right. It, see, I'm one who doesn't quite do the veggies so much, and I now have a medical reason that I can say I can't eat so much, but it's so it was harder for me in some of those places with what they had because a lot of the veggies they had were like, I'll pass on this, I'll pass on that. I
Hmm.
wasn't huge on the tofu, except there was one restaurant that made it a certain way. It's almost like they baked it or something. It had this crispy outside to it. It really tasted good, and they only made it once a day at 6 p.m. So if we went to that restaurant, then it's like, yeah, I want however much I can get away with. Or going into more of the northern part of the country, then it was lamb on skewers.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Oh, it was. I have no idea how they seasoned it. And you would basically say, I want X number of skewers. How much do you want? You want five, you want 10. And it would be so easy. You can go, how could you eat 10? Because they're that good. And you only have 3 to 5 pieces of meat on each skewer. And it just almost a melt in your mouth kind of thing.
That sounds. I love lamb, so that sounds good.
It's something that I miss. There was wherever they'd worked up there, the company gave
Mhm.
everybody a leg of lamb, and
Like
so
like a
here's
whole leg.
yes, so here's this whole leg that's been delivered, and I can't go without an oven. So we had an oven, and I go to the internet basically looking for how to bake this. how do I season it? How do I bake it? How long do I bake it? And that's what I did. I baked it, and it was so yummy.
That sounds oh okay. I yeah, I'm gonna send you recipes. Like I'm just gonna like send you seasonings that my family has, and then you can tell me how like you like each and every one.
Because right now for me, seasoning is Lowry seasoned salt. That's seasoning.
Hmm. That's actually pretty good seasoning. So I actually had it I didn't know I was eating it before, but like now that I moved in with my boyfriend, he uses it a lot and I use that for when I bake chicken. And
Right.
and I love cooking on a cast iron because I don't know if you know this, but when you cook on a cast iron because it's made of iron, your food also starts to gain more of that iron from using the cast iron. So as
Okay.
women, because we have our menstrual cycle once a month, we also lose a lot of iron. So it's
Right.
actually really healthy to cook on a cast iron. And so I try to use it as much as I can.
I
Yeah.
haven't gotten to the cast iron yet. I keep thinking about it, but it's always that what's the best way to do it so things aren't sticking either, because
Heating it.
that's always the piece that I have to deal with, is how to make sure that I don't have to use so much oil to keep it from sticking. Or but I will season salt just about everything. I'll make a box of shredded potatoes, of hash browns, basically stick it in the skillet after it's
And
soaked, and then season salt the top, work my way flipping it, season salt again, and just try not to overdo it.
yeah, yeah, but there's I'm gonna send you recipes. You can try them out.
And
And they're
and then
healthy.
well, and there's that, but then I will also do homemade pizza. So
Oh, I love homemade. Have you tried making it on a grill? Like grilling the pizza?
no, I haven't done that yet.
Yeah,
I
that
don't
that's
I don't
very
have
that's
a
an
grill to
interesting.
do that.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so that was an interesting thing I learned during COVID that you can grill your pizza.
Well, yeah, I did know you could grill your pizza, but you got to make sure that it's not going to sink through the grill
Right.
either.
Yeah, probably not the best for like homemade dough, but I guess maybe frozen dough.
Yeah, and because I can do that. I can make pizza dough within, it only takes like 20 minutes to make the dough, and then spread it out, bake it. I'm very
Mhm.
simple on a pizza, so it's pepperoni. That's it.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that sounds
Pepperoni,
good. I do
cheese, I'm good to
wait,
go.
do you use what is it called? The double O flour for your pizza dough?
I have whatever the big bag is of 25-pound bag in Costco,
25 pound? Yeah, Costco does have a lot of big
because it
items.
costs. I just bought a new bag, and it cost me like $12 for 25 pounds of flour.
Yeah, that's exactly why I buy my rice at Costco because 20 bucks for a 50-pound bag ain't too bad.
Okay, somebody's finally caught up to us.
Just she said, "Are you sure you want homework from me?"
Yeah,
I could do homework.
exactly.
I'm a good student.
That's okay. She will get into the food conversation too. It's like we can take this all over the place. We've just taken it to food for like 20
Yeah,
minutes.
I'm sorry. That is probably my fault because I
No, it's
every conversation I have, it leads to food. And then you will slowly learn that that literally is my heart is probably the shape of a food. Probably watermelon.
well, and CJ will be there too. I know that. I've seen what she can do. She's seen what I can do. And it's like yesterday I had some pita type bread from Whole Foods. So just those round things. I cut like a third of it so I could stuff it. And then I'd gotten a bone-in ham over Easter, so I had some of
Mm.
that and chopped it, made it into small pieces. I had two boiled eggs because I got a on Amazon. I got a boiled egg maker, So it's like, now I can make boiled eggs. It's,
The
it's
boiled
basically a
egg maker?
steamer. It's basically,
Okay.
yeah, it basically steams them. It cost me like $12. I can put 7 eggs in it, steam it, and that hard boils them. It all automatic. I just stick them in there. I don't have to do anything.
I'm
Off
gonna
it
need
goes.
that Amazon link.
We can take care of that. Then so I had 2 hard boiled eggs, and I do have the egg, the little thing to cut them up, so I don't have to do it. So it's like I can run the wires over it one direction, turn it 90 degrees the other direction, and the eggs cut up, put the ham in, and some, in this case, I had some cheddar jack.
Mm,
I mixed that up, stuffed it into, because I didn't want to do mayo. I wanted to heat this.
right.
I stuck that mixture into the pita bread, and in this case, I baked it at
Ooh.
375 for about 7 minutes, so that everything melted inside. That way, the eggs and the ham got melted together with the cheese, and it was good.
That sounds like a pita melt in your mouth kind of deal.
It was.
That
And,
sounds good.
and the instructor is moving us back on task. So as she's asking, uh, how can we support you in your endeavors?
Come to the event. And I guess yeah, just come to the events. I leave it open for anyone. Anyone's invited. As you know, you just have to be a woman, um, and you just or identify as a woman. You know, so we're and you know we also love the guys who do support women. So you know that's nice. But these are really just events for women. But I don't know. I mean, so far I've had like everyone has just been so supportive that I've met and that I've told everyone about for these groups. But even for like my own personal business, I feel like everyone is just always like sending me referrals and it's crazy because I really like went from like having no one to like or feeling like I had no one to
Right.
everyone's here and everyone just is it's great. It's kind of weird. I feel like I was watching a show. I don't know what show it was, or I was reading something, but it was something about how like the universe likes everything in balance. You know what? I think it's a book. I think it's like one of those Rebecca Yarrow's books. Um, have you read Fourth Wing? Or it's called Fourth Wing. It's a like a young adult book, and TikTok got me on it. And yeah, so one of the phrases was like the universe likes everything in balance. And so that really stuck with me. And so now I'm like, okay, like I didn't have that before. So I think everything is balancing now. And now, yeah, I don't know. I feel really blessed in the life that I'm living in now. So yeah, I don't know. I feel like this has all just been amazing. And yes, Danielle is amazing because she connected me all to you guys. So yeah, I I just love how everything just naturally flows. I don't really like to push any asks onto other people. I just, you know, just think of me and like if you need somebody to talk to.
See,
Yeah.
well, yeah, you've found the right group, because that's essentially what we do. Uh, I know what you mean about not feeling like there is anybody. You're just and until I hooked up with CJ and then Danielle and there's a few others, then things really started to change. And quite frankly, it's amazing when you can open up to somebody, and
Hmm.
you, because all my life, like I said, being told what to do, but then at the same time not feeling safe to open up to anybody. And we have these things that it's like, if I tell you this, I'll get stuck in a box.
Yeah.
That's the fear that you open up, and maybe it's ADHD, be neurodiverse, being from another country, no matter what you're having an accent or not, and take your pick. I mean, all the way through race, through language, through tattoos, everything. And so it's that fear of what do I say? How can I open up to somebody? And that's what it became with especially for me with these two. Um, I can, even then, there are still times, and CJ knows it can be hard for me to say I'm having difficulties because there's
Mhm.
still struggling with the fear, or you don't want to take somebody else down with you if you're in the spiral. But at the same
Yeah.
time, it's that learning who's really there. And I know that's why we do all these books and stuff together too.
Yeah, which I think is amazing because Danielle told me about it like last month and she was like, I don't know why I didn't think of you before, but like, hey. And then she got me in and then I did get your book actually. I do have it. Um and so I just haven't read it to be honest. I got it and I was like, "Oh, when am I going to find time to read this?" Like I do love reading and I honestly if you guys could make it an audible because I am so good at listening to
Okay,
podcasts.
okay. Let me take you to this. So if you go to um, CJ right now, it's like, yeah, CJ tells me to pick up the damn phone. Starting last week, because CJ has Spotify, podcast, everything else. So when it comes to this, starting last week, the first author actually read her chapter, and it's now on her podcast.
Oh,
So it's
that
on
is perfect.
Spotify. It's, I mean, Level Up Academy. CJ can put the specifics in there because she's now
Yeah, I'm
here.
grabbing my phone right now and I'm on Spotify. I'm looking it up.
So Kinga did her chapter last week, but basically over the next few weeks, whichever authors want to read their chapter, that's what's happening. And then I wouldn't be surprised, CJ, if all of this turns into an audiobook. And for those who didn't read their chapters, either they would get an opportunity to read it for an audiobook, or say if they did or didn't want it in the book and just have somebody else read it. So we can, but yeah, I'm wouldn't be surprised if an audible could be coming down the pike somewheres somehow.
Yeah, that sounds amazing because for me, which yes,
There it
thank you for
is.
sending the link. Uh, I sit in traffic for quite a while because I'm in SoCal. And so I guess like total drive time on the road is 4 hours per day, sometimes more.
Uh,
So when I'm driving, I listen to books and I listen to podcasts. And so I like being able to like I love podcasts because I don't have to participate. I was actually really nervous when you asked me to be on here. I was like, "What, Danielle? I gotta call you." And she was like,
she
"No,
told
you'll
me.
be fine. Susanna is really sweet. She'll take care of you." And I was like, "Okay, I'm trusting y'all." And then here I am. So, but I love just listening. Like to me, like I love learning from others. And I think most of what I do is I like to be on the background cheering other people on, which is why I like being a photographer because I'm behind the scenes. And so being in front is not something that I'm not really used to. And I think it goes back to like, like me being Filipino Asian and then being really young and like the youngest of five kids. Like I'm 4 out of 5. And so like, you're told what to do. Um
Right.
and then but I guess as we grow, you got to start going and doing things.
Okay, that tells me right there with that little piece of information is like, no wonder Danielle and you and CJ.
Yeah, right.
It's like you said the magic word, Filipino.
Yeah, yeah. You gotta love us. We got good food.
That's right. That's it's like the minute you said that, it's like, oh, duh, no wonder. It's like I already know now all I need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing with me is like it's crazy because I am Filipino, but I've never been to Philippines. But
Oh,
I
geez,
was in
that means I
Japan.
bet you eat. I've been there
Yeah,
once.
you have. I do plan to go. Like my dad is trying to get me to go this winter, because my grandfather passed last year, so it'll be his 1 year death anniversary, and I think they're gonna spread his ashes there. I'm not really sure what's happening, but um,
CJ doesn't follow directions. But it's like that. Quite frankly, for me, I've been there once. It was not the best experience, but I know that the next time I go, it's probably going to be with CJ at some point, and then I know it'll be fine.
yeah.
That arriving in Manila, getting into Manila, and trying to navigate just to a hotel in Manila by the elevated train, staying off
Mhm.
of the surface, um, it still was not the easiest. And yeah, of course she says that. So it was an experience. And then getting to the southern tip of the island to be able to catch a ferry to the next island. And during that time, it was ended up getting there late. So we ended up just sleeping on the benches
What?
outside of the ferry gate
Wait,
until it
you you didn't get
yeah
like a room?
didn't there were no rooms that were even close to the ferry station. You
No.
would have to go like a mile or two backwards to find it, and you got to be able to find a car that would even take you to one if there was a room. It was not, let's just say, there were a lot of mosquito bites.
Oh
uh
no.
it was not. And then we got to the next island, which, funny enough, this one, it was White Beach is where we went, but it's not the one that everybody say White Beach. You're somewhere more southern in the Philippines. This was White Beach, just off the tip of the island that Manila's on. Um,
Okay.
so that was White Beach, and then there was some. It's like we're walking around, and we ended up going to a nonprofit that had this little villagey type thing for students, and then they had students there for a week from Manila, and were basically teaching them, having them do some acting, create plays, and all this kind of stuff. And then we were invited to see the plays that all the students had created that last night on a Friday, because we were still there. So it
That's
was
nice though.
it was definitely different. Um,
But
and then
it's
of course,
okay.
and then there were those who's like offering the night before we got on the ferry. It's dark out, and there's these people that are offering to to bring people by their personal boats from that island to the island that we were headed to. And it's like, no, I'm not going to trust you that I'm not going to end up floating in water.
Yeah. Yeah, I forget that. Yeah, I always forget the safety
Yeah,
precautions when I do things. And then I just go into it and I'm like, oh, whatever happens is supposed to happen.
yeah. Well, in this case, take the safety. Take the safety.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I've never been there, so I don't know what it's like, but I'm pretty sure when I go there, I'll definitely feel culture shocked.
Yeah, you'll have some of that, definitely. And I mean, to me, I've been in some of the cities in China. I've been to Bangkok. I suppose to me, Manila might be a little bit closer to Bangkok as opposed to
Oh,
any of the Chinese cities I've been in. because it really felt um, a lot of traffic, a little bit claustrophobic. The To take the train, to take the rail system it's all elevated, and that's kind of what Bangkok is as well, as the lines are elevated.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, there were just so many more people in Manila, and to ride in a jeepney was an experience all its own.
I'll have to experience that for sure. Because I don't know why everyone always talks about the jeepney. Like
It,
that in itself is like equivalent to our traffic in California.
well, it's because it's a unique thing to Manila, I suspect, and it's like a it's the back end is open, so that's
Mm-hmm.
everybody's getting in and out the back end. You've got the driver up front, and then there's a cost to get into it, and then you just sit there and go from place to place. And these, if I remember right, they have their own pass. It's like, you get on it here, you're going to go to X point. That's what
Mm-hmm.
they're going to do. They're not. It's not like a cab that you just say, this is where I'm going to go, and off you go, because it's got its route and it's got all these people, and they're all decorated uniquely. That's the other thing. Each one of those jeepneys is so unique.
That's good. Okay, that's good to know. I didn't know that. I thought it was like, you know how like we have the bus system and
Oh,
like the buses just look the same.
there may be a bus system as well, but the jeepneys, yeah,
The
this is
jeepneys are it.
the jeepneys are different than the bus, but they have their own routes, and quite frankly, I have no idea how you would figure out the route. Really, I think we just got into one, saw where it went, tried to keep in mind where the hotel was so we didn't get lost, and go from there.
And okay, so do you know if they go from like, do they go like back to like they just have like a couple points, or do they go? Is
Well,
it
I think everyone's going to be different. I mean, some they might go in just a big circle. Some they might go
okay?
back and forth. It's I that
We're gonna have to ask CJ. She would know more.
CJ would know. Yeah, yeah. She would be the one to ask. CJ or Danielle is like, because I don't. I a lot of that time I've kind of blocked out. It's like, yeah, I made some mistakes at that point. It was like, number one, should not have gone to the hotel or gone to the ferry station when we did. We should have spent another night at the hotel and gone the next day. Oops.
But you live and you learn. But also like you got to see like the performance of the students. Of I
That
mean,
things
it sounds
I
yeah.
have had that kind of a blessing where I've gotten to go to and see things that I was the first non-native to do, or in this case at the Philippines, in a place that not a lot of people are going to know about. It's not going to be a tourist attraction, and it's really there to help this whichever kids happen to be going through it at that time. They had arts
Mm-hmm.
and crafts, they had sports, they had theater, all kinds of things for the kids. And in this case, they were pulling kids in from the city as a way to let them see there's something other than the gangs or whatever to
Yeah.
to do, that they can do something, they can be more than street kids.
Yeah. Yeah. I
And a
feel
lot
like
of them, that's
that's
what it was.
yeah, that's amazing. I feel like there should be more. Like, and that's kind of why I was like, I love listening to Chandra. Chandra,
Uh-huh.
right?
Shonda,
Shonda.
I
Shonda.
think, yeah.
Yeah. So I liked what she's doing. So like even just listening to her talk and like what she's doing, because like school doesn't talk about the social emotional stuff, and they don't help
Mhm.
you find community. They just put you in. You're basically like a computer. You need to learn these tasks to function, and then good luck. But they don't teach, like, there's no like sensing of like, okay, you need to make a mistake in order to learn. We're taught
Right.
if you're making a mistake, like, you shouldn't make a mistake. You shouldn't. But that's the only way to learn, is by making
It
those
is.
mistakes. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of why I was like, I loved talking to them that day. That was Sunday. But
Yeah.
yeah, like, even just listening to that, I was like, oh, this is like really empowering. And like, I wish there were more people that had that same vision, because even I wish the schools actually were like that, because I used to work with kids and sometimes they would be like, "Oh, you don't like me." And I'm like, "What do you mean I don't like you? I don't even know you." And it's these kids already being put into a box, because, and that's the thing with like kids, or like people staying in one place, like, you're surrounded by the same people who only see you as what they already have preconceived notions about you.
Exactly.
And
Exactly.
so in a lot of ways, I do find that like moving around was a blessing, because it's also like you can reinvent yourself, or like, and so, and I think that's kind of hard, because it's like you want the people that you're most closest to see you the way that you want to be seen, not how they already have you in their mind. So
Well,
yeah.
and like you say, they can reinvent themselves, and the the thing about reinvention, we can always reinvent ourselves, but we oftentimes have to go someplace different to do it because we're
Hmm.
not allowed to do it around those that have already judged us. And you're not
Right.
allowed to reinvent yourself. You have to be the same. That's why I'm so tired of always being told this, what's expected, what I'm supposed to be, what's expected of me, because I was created one way, and I'm not allowed to. It's like if we share a sliver of whoever we are, I kind of mentioned it
Hmm.
before, that gets us stuck in a box. And when you get put in that box, you are then whoever puts you in that box, for good or bad, they dig down and take like from a subset of however many subsets they need to find what fits the perfect picture of the narrative that they want to paint everybody as.
Hmm.
So if they stick you in a box and they want that box to be as negative as possible, even though you don't even associate with anybody that's really in that box, it's like guilt by association.
Yeah.
Like, oh well, you are this, and it's like, but that doesn't even define me. It doesn't matter.
Right.
They've decided that you let them know this, and so now that's all you are to them, is this type of person, that type of person, good, bad, in their eyes. That's what they expect you to be, and then when you're not, they're still gonna they're still gonna treat you the same way because you're not allowed to change. But the person who
Yeah.
puts you in the box is.
Hmm. Yeah, that sounds, it sounds like crazy, but that's really like the society that we live in. And I don't know, I'm not really big on that description. That's why I tell people, like, we live in, so as photographers, and I don't know who started this, but they're like, you have to niche down. You have to niche down, know what you want to do. And I'm like, why? Why would I do that? That's like saying that I am the color red and I'm only going to be red. But
Right.
guess what? I'm a rainbow, so I get to choose what color I want to be.
Today.
Yeah. Or the next minute I could be blue. But
Exactly.
I don't like how we put people in boxes, because especially as women, we're so um we go through so many different things. First off, we get our period once a month. That's not fun, but we do get it. And then we have 4 cycles, that we go through because of our hormones, which honestly sometimes I wish I was a man, because I'm like, I don't know how I'm feeling today. But but it's like a blessing, because we give life, and then I'm also a mom, or, but then even as a mom, like, I'm a driver, I have to cook, I have to clean, and then being a business owner, like, that's another thing. So whoever said to niche down, like, if I could niche down, I would be sleeping. That would be what
Well,
I do. What do you do for a living? I sleep all day.
it's like, that's the thing about LinkedIn. You get onto LinkedIn, and that's all I ever heard is you can only be one or two things. That's all you talk about. That's your niche.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't do much on LinkedIn until a couple of years ago, when I started seeing us, and it was the women who were stepping in, going, uh-uh,
Mm-hmm.
tattoos. So what? I'm neurodiverse. So what? This is all part of business. Who we are is part of our business of what is going into the workplace.
Yeah.
And, and if we can stop covering ourselves going into the workplace, things would be so much better. Because right
Mm-hmm.
now, I've seen some surveys, and all of them are saying 60% of us are covering ourselves in the workplace of something, and that's from
Right.
that's those who admitted to it, which is why I think the numbers are even higher.
We are always, but I feel like that's just women in general. I feel like we're always feeling like we have to hide some part of us in order to fit in. And I think that's why again, why I like working, or like just connecting with women, and even working with women. Because a lot of the times when I do photography, sometimes I work with, like, brands and businesses. And like when I get to know them, I'm like, yeah, like, be your true self. Like, also, like, I'm not going to take on a client that I don't vibe with. So
Mhm.
I'm like, you need to be comfortable with the person that's taking your pictures. Because if you're tense, you look tense. And
Yep.
so I do recommend, if you do drink, to have at least one glass of wine or a shot, because it does dilate your eyes and it flushes out your cheeks. So like when you start taking photos, like, you're also relaxed, and then you're just like, okay, I'm vibing, and it does relax the muscles and just the tension. So that's nice. That's like a weird thing that I recommend, and people are like, "Oh, you recommend that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I think they do too in the blue zones, because I are you familiar with the blue zones? It was on Netflix, but it started off like with research, and it was in a book. But it's like blue zones are considered like the healthiest places that have like people who live up to 100 or more years.
Okay.
So they make like the healthiest humans. And like in, I think it's Greece, one of the places they make like fresh wine, which is on my list. I'm like, I want to try that fresh wine.
Yep. All right. We are way over time, but I'm used to it.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, no, this is
No,
great.
it
It's been a
is not a
pleasure.
sorry thing. It's when the conversation goes, it goes, and I like to see where it goes. We're still not where it was last week. CJ showed up at just before it was done, popped in, and I think we went another half hour
Oh, that's amazing.
because it was last week. It was the authors from the
From the
anthologies,
book.
whichever authors wanted to show up, and I had, I think, five of them, four of them, and then CJ popped up, so it's like suddenly there's six of us at the end, and so we just kept going and going,
And
and
but
going.
I love that. Honestly, like, that's how, like, the women events that I've gone to, it ends up being that way, like, because it's not about like, it's, I don't know what it is. We just vibe, and the energy's there, and we're just like connecting. And like sometimes, like, I am so bad with time. I'll tell you that already. Like, math, not my biggest, like, I hate math. But I let my boyfriend do my math. But sometimes it's just, I just go off of like how it's feeling. I'm a feeling person. So, and this feels great.
it's it's been a great conversation, and I'm gonna close this up, but we can still talk after
Yeah.
this. So for everybody who's been here or anybody who's still here, I think I know a couple of people that might still be there. It's been a great conversation. I could see this going on, and I love it. And for everybody else, it's like, thanks for showing up. And
Thank you
I
for
will.
having me.
Oh, I'm so glad it worked out. It's like a lot of stuff about this just was perfectly timed today, including the ability to fix my nail, which happened at what would normally be my time. So it's like, yeah, it was meant to be. So thank you so much.
That's perfect.
Exactly. It worked perfectly. So I'm glad you were here. And for everybody else, I will see you next week. Take care. Bye.
Bye.